Welcome along to my channel. This is the watercolour we're doing today. This is the completed one. And it's just a very easy, very simple watercolour of that sky there, the ocean, and some sand and some grass just scattered about. A couple of birds there in the distance. So just a sheet of A4 watercolour paper. There's a couple of birds. That bird there is rather large, so I decided to make the birds a lot smaller, as you'll see as we progress in the painting. I just thought the bird was too large, the bird I drew out anyway. So we'll just wet the paper, and as usual, just wetting the paper with this mop brush. Nice clean, clear water. I'm going around that large bird because I thought I was going to paint it in, and then I decided, as I said before, it was a bit big, so I made the birds a lot smaller. Anyway, we'll give the paper a really, or the sky area, a very good soaking. This is 300 GSM watercolour paper. It's 100% cotton, so the colours blend in very well together. And also, I said before in one of my other watercolour paintings, with the cotton watercolour paper, I do use other sorts of watercolour paper, but with the cotton watercolour paper, it's very forgiving. So, you know, you can work on it, and the fibres, if you happen to go over an area a couple of times, which isn't ideal, but if you happen to do that, the fibres won't lift, or it'll take quite a lot for any fibres to lift off cotton watercolour paper. So it's a very durable paper. The paint soaks in really well, and the colours mix in really well with this sort of paper. So we have it taped as usual, just to give ourselves a clean border after the painting. I might actually get myself a mat from those photograph frames that have a mat in them, and I might just grab a mat and put it over the painting when it's finished. That might give you a better idea what it looks like with a really big mat around it. So I'll go looking for one of those a bit later. So I'm mixing up just a cobalt blue. There it is there. It's a really lovely blue, the cobalt, I think it's COBALT, cobalt blue, or COBOLT. Did I say that before? Did I spell it that way before? I'm not sure. COBOLT, cobalt blue. So that is obviously, wet paint. Nice mixture of cobalt blue going on wet paper, and we'll put some yellow ochre in there. Just mixing up the yellow ochre, or getting it out of the tube anyway. I'm using Reeves, REEVES watercolours that I bought the other day. And I'm also using some AS Art Spectrum watercolours as well in this. So that's the yellow ochre. I've got just a bit of a light wash on that. Still using the Reeves watercolour. Let it blend in. Now I'm just tilting the board. Now I'm going to have to tilt this board really on a really steep angle and you won't see much, I'm sorry. Here we go. So my apologies. And I'm not shifting the camera because it's on a stand, so, but I need to do this. The paint is just running down the watercolour page, and as you can see, it ran sideways. Now I'm tilting it upwards so it gives a rundown of that paint. I'm just mopping it up in places where I don't want it to run. Just that foreground there where the sand is. I don't want too much blue in there at all. So I think that's about it. I'm going to leave it the way it is. Try not to muck around too much if you're adding some yellow ochre in with the cobalt blue. Try and add it into those areas where there's a bit of white. You don't want it green. You want to avoid it turning, because yellow and blue turns into green. So you don't want it looking green if possible. But if you're doing just an overcast sky, sometimes skies look a greeny grey, and that's okay if you're doing that sort of thing. So I'm using an ultramarine blue here with a tiny bit of yellow ochre mixed in. Some people put masking tape across to give them a nice straight or clean border, but you've got to be very, very careful because I've seen some people lift the tape off and it's just taken the paint off with it. So I don't know, I just prefer just to do it by hand, the horizon. And I don't know, it doesn't matter if there's the odd wobble now and then. On the left-hand side where that piece of land is, on the left-hand side where I'm just finishing there, it bled a little bit because my sky wasn't totally dry. So don't make that mistake. Make sure your sky is completely dry before you start putting the ocean in across the horizon. It's all right, I fixed that up anyway, but you just don't want that hassle because it could bleed up into the sky in an area where you can't fix it. So I'm leaving some white, just some little white gaps there to give the illusion of some waves. And I'm having to just go over just a bit with the same colour just to darken it. You can see what I'm doing there. Going over those areas there. Make sure they're nice and blue. Well, not totally blue, but you know, that mixture of ultramarine blue and a little bit of yellow ochre in there. We don't want the ocean looking too flat, so we want to put a little bit of darker colour under the white breaking wave, just in areas, just to give it a little bit of depth there. And we want the water to be blending into the sand when, you know, the water just coming in onto the sand. We just don't want to stark. We just don't want it finishing suddenly. We want it to blend onto the sand. Creating some definition there with the rigger brush. So this is just putting a bit of yellow ochre in, a very light wash in places, just randomly through the sand. Trying to, I don't want to cover the white paper up totally, but I'm just trying to create the flow of the sand there, how the sand is shaping and how it's flowing. Using the rigger brush, I'm just putting some grasses in here using a yellow from Reeves. So putting this yellow just around, just to create some background grass here. So this yellow I'm using from Reeves is they call it a medium yellow. It's almost like a yellow ochre, but it's not. It's you can see it's a medium yellow, but it's a really lovely colour, and it just gives some nice. It gives a nice impression of some grass or dry grass. And we'll be going over that grass with some olive green and then some Australian darkleaf green. So a combination of all three for the grasses when we get to that. So the rigger brush is very handy. You can get some really good fine work with a rigger brush. This is a Winsor & Newton brush. Putting in some olive green. I just put my paint tin, be a bit handier. So we've got the olive green going over the medium yellow, and then eventually we'll be putting some Australian darkleaf green as well, just to mix it up a bit with the grass. It's a really lovely colour, the olive green. You can see it's taking shape there. Just random bits of grass through there with the olive green. So that little watercolour tin that you can see there on the left-hand side, that's Byron. It's a little travel watercolour case, but I'm also using other watercolours that you can't see for this painting as well. I'm using Reeves, R-E-E-V-E-S watercolours, and I'm also using Art Spectrum as well in this painting. There's some random bit more of that olive green there. I'm putting in some shadow now with a nice mixture there of violet. A very light mixture, very, very light mixture of violet, just to create a bit of a shadow in areas going through. The violet is by Reeves, R-E-E-V-E-S. And Reeves has excellent light fastness and colour brilliance as well. Now I've just put this paper over the top because I just want to give a little bit of grit. You know, in sand you see bits of grit and things like that just randomly. So I just want to create a bit more atmosphere by doing that. Just flicking some colour on with the brush. There we go, that doesn't look too bad. Now remember, I got rid of those big birds. They were just a bit too big, the ones I penciled in before, so they're gone. And I did that by using a little bit of gouache and just blending it into the sky. And it looks pretty good. So to get rid of those pencil marks. So just a couple of birds, just some fine birds up here. I'm going to have to get rid of that bird there because it's a bit wet where I put that bird on. It's starting to bleed. So there it is, the bird's gone. And we'll put that bird over on the right-hand side eventually. So this is just some yellow ochre now. A bit more yellow ochre going in. It's looking all right. This is the Australian dark leaf green I was telling you about that I'm wanting to put in as well, just in some areas. You know, we could have put a couple of old posts. That might have looked really good in this painting. A couple of old posts just sticking out of the sand, leading into the ocean, but I don't know. It's all right the way it is. I just thought about that now, actually. But I think it looks all right the way it is. Using the rigger brush again. So a couple of posts just sticking out of the sand, just leading into the ocean, so it would look okay. But you know what? I think there's enough going on anyway with all the grass and the sand there. So I think that's enough, really. But you could do that if you're doing this painting or you want to have a go at this painting. you might want to try doing putting in a couple of posts. Don't forget to subscribe and, click that bell icon. The channel is relatively new, so it would be really, really lovely if you subscribed. I would appreciate it a lot as we do our watercolour together. The beach can always give you a feeling of peace and relaxation, reminds you of fun, happy times as well, holidays, things like that. A lot of people like to have those beach scenes in their house because it just gives a really nice feeling, especially if you own a beach house or you live near the beach. And you want beachy things in your house, for instance. Or if you live nowhere near the beach at all, it can be a good reminder of the beach just to have a painting of the beach up on your wall. I'm trying that bird again in this spot, but oh no. Same thing again. I thought it was dry. So there we are, we got rid of that. We're going to put that bird definitely on the right-hand side. That'll do. That'll do for the birds. So you can see the white space that I've left there with that sand coming down, the white spaces to give the illusion of sand coming down that slope. Some grasses there, just randomly placed around. As I said, we could have put some posts in, but I think it looks all right the way it is. We'll take the masking tape off fairly soon. and we'll give you a final look up close at the painting. Here we go. Just notice something else that needs doing very quickly. There's always something, isn't there? And the top one. So that's our watercolour. I'll just give you a closer look at that. Please subscribe and click the bell icon. We'll be coming back with another watercolour very, very soon. And as we build this channel and we get to a really good amount of people, we'll be putting on a Patreon for this channel. So there it is. Very easy, very simple watercolour. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you got something out of that. There it is up close there. So that's it. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again soon. Bye for now.